Hello, World Wide Web. I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality with the best hair, and it's time to dive headfirst into House of 1,000 Corpses. Rob Zombie's 2003 film debut, having written and directed it. Allegedly inspired by horror films of the 70s and 80s, it's got gore, spooky tales, crazed families, and no regard for subtlety whatsoever. As you expect from a Rob Zombie film, as I said on Live and Wired, if you just walk up to someone in a Rob Zombie movie, tap them on the shoulder and ask them how they're doing, they're gonna punch you in the face, kick you in the crotch, and tell you, I'm doing drugs! But who is doing these drugs? Well, in House of 1,000 Corpses, we follow a small group of teenagers on a road trip who hear a spooky tale about a spooky tree and the spooky Dr. Satan who did all kinds of horrible things to innocent people just like them. So, hey gang, let's check it out. What's the worst that could happen? In a Rob Zombie flick? It can't be any worse than your average commute to work, I guess. So let's take a look at House of 1,000 Corpses and see if the body count really does get that high. We open up to a random ass opening that has little to no connection to the events of the film.
I will be with you until the end.
Kinda. Dr. Wolfenstein, played by Greg Gibbs, does pop in a few more times throughout the course of the film, but just as an awkward transition from scene to scene, and he has fuck all to do with the plot. We do get a little bit with Captain Spaulding, at least, played by Sid Haig, who does have something to do with the plot, as we drop down into Captain Spaulding's Museum of Monsters and Madmen, plus fried chicken and gas, in the year 1977, and meet up with the guy and his friend Stucky, played by Michael J. Pollard.
You know what his favorite thing is next to whacking his weasel? He takes a sharpened pencil and sticks it in his eyeball and twists it. What?
And the level of conversation they have is standard Rob Zombie movie fare. Seriously, when was the last time you had a conversation with your friend that didn't involve genitalia, self-harm, or at least 5 examples of vulgarity?
Although once he got caught, with a Planet of the Apes style stuck up his asshole.
Oh shit, they found me. Never mind this, though. Stucky has to use the bathroom right before a few spare robbers show up. This would be Killer Carl, played by Chad Bannon, and his partner in crime, Richard Wick, played by David Reynolds. Their identity is revealed soon enough, as the little-ass ape mask really isn't good enough when Stucky knows him anyway. What the fuck is with the editing? And the body count has started. About 6 minutes in. Got to pick up the pace if we hope to reach 1,000. The spare skull crusher is Ravielli, played by Irwin Keyes. With one robber's brains on display, Captain Spaulding finishes off the other just in time for the opening credits, with music by Rob Zombie.
Mama said, come eat desire. Her brother said, hey, throw 'em.
As well as direction and editing, very obviously. After the opening Rob Zombie music video, we meet up with our teenagers for this adventure, starting with Jerry Goldsmith, played by Chris Hardwick, as well as his friend Bill Hudley, played by Rainn Wilson, who you may recognize from The Office, or at the very least countless memes plucked from The Office. They're running into a problem. They're almost out of gas! However, Jerry spots the sign for Captain Spaulding's overly complicated gas station at the next exit, so problem solved. Once they arrive, though, they're in for more than they bargained for.
Holy crap, you gotta see this place. It's boss.
Yeah, how boss?
Really fucking boss.
Like, end of a JRPG, 5 million hit points in 12 forms, boss! With the bossness established, Jerry wakes up the two in the back, Denise, played by Erin Daniels, and Mary, played by Jennifer Jostin. Together, they enter the House of Horrors to gawk at all the wacky displays.
Did you see the crocodile boy? How'd you like to find that in your pants?
How the hell would that even... What are you even talking about? Bill is writing all sorts of shit down and asking Captain Spaulding all sorts of questions. This is because he and his friends are writing a book about all the strange and silly things you can find while taking a road trip across America, and think Spaulding's shop fits right in. However, the clown's demeanor turns sour upon hearing this, and he starts asking Bill if he's one of those asshole city folk who think everyone out in the country is just so silly and stupid, existing only for his amusement.
I'm very interested. I'm not trying to make fun.
Gotcha!
Well, it's less the tone of your voice and more the swelling music that I was concerned about.
Who the hell want to read about all this horse shit anyway?
You'd be surprised.
Son,
Look around. Would I be surprised?
And while the acting is pretty amateur all around and the writing doesn't exactly inspire confidence, I have to say, it is pretty clear to me why Sid Haig is a fan favorite of this one, because he's got some of the most entertaining screen time, hands down. But as it turns out, this museum of horror slash gas station slash fried chicken shop also has a ride! A murder ride! Not the most inviting name, but our merry band of victims just can't wait! Hopping onto the on-rails experience, they prepare for the ultimate rush of blood.
On your right, you will see the infamous Albert Fish.
A real-life serial killer and cannibal wrote a letter to one of the victims about how he ate that booty like groceries. Real fucked up shit. While the ride does mention his cannibalism, the main focus is on how he was into self-harm, enjoying spankings with a nail-studded paddle. Also true, but the next murderer to show off is none other than Ed Gein.
Murderer, cannibal, Mr. Gein used to take great pleasure in playing with the dead bodies of women.
But as famous as his murders were, being the inspiration for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Psycho, and the Silence of the Lambs, there is absolutely no evidence whatsoever to suggest he was a cannibal. Best I could find is that he was featured in a book called Cannibal Killers, but that's it, he still wasn't a cannibal. Technically not actually a serial killer either, by definition. The real important serial killer to talk about is Dr. Satan, though, who is said to have tried to create a race of superhumans out of toying with the brains of the mentally damaged. That is, until the town rounded him up and hung him from a tree.
The next day, his body was found to be missing.
And everyone just figured, you know what? Fuck it, we hung him once good enough. And that brings our very short, basic, and factually challenged murder ride to a close.
That was so badass! Dr. Satan! Ah, Dr. Satan!
Our film's target audience, ladies and gentlemen. Denise decides to take this opportunity to call up her father, Don, played by Harrison Young. She's letting him know they stopped at some horror museum slash chicken restaurant slash gas station slash amusement park and are running a little late. More importantly, though,
Halloween falls on a school night.
So they're trick-or-treating tonight.
Your left hand shows your past.
don't let the plot get in the way of random ass transitions coming out of nowhere, reminding you that yes, this is, in fact, a horror movie. Also, a few cheerleaders have been kidnapped recently and no one knows anything about it. Ain't that crazy? Well, not as crazy as Jerry deciding, hey, we might already be late for our destination, but that spooky, spooky tale about Dr. Satan and that tree he was hung from is just too awesome! Sure, it's dark and stormy in this night, but that's no reason not to convince this clown to draw them a map of the back roads they need to take to find it, and set out for adventure. However, along the way, they happen across Sherry Moon Zombie all alone by the side of the road. She plays Baby, a bubbly, happy-go-lucky country gal out in the rain who just needs a ride home, coincidentally right in the direction they are going.
If someone needs to be killed, you kill him. That's the way.
I don't know about you, but I think she maybe is a bad guy in this. Wouldn't you know it, the path they take just so happens to cross a bare-hatted man with a broomstick, resulting in a flat tire. And a gunshot that they should have heard well above the storm. It is a pretty distinct sound, but whatevs, they have a spare tire.
What if I forgot to put it back in the trunk, and what would plan B entail? Jesus Christ!
Well, Jesus may be able to take the wheel, but you must have some serious faith to think he can deal with car trouble in a horror movie. But what's this? It seems Baby's house isn't far from here, and her brother is a tow truck driver. What luck! Thus, Bill splits off from the rest of the group in order to accompany her down the road, arriving at her place soon enough, and at the spooky transitions reminding you both that Baby is a murderer, and yes, in case you forgot, this is a horror movie, are somehow not convincing enough, don't worry. Remember those kidnapped cheerleaders mentioned in passing earlier? Well, they're all here, under the watchful eye of our resident rambling madman, Otis, played by Bill Moseley.
I have to break free from this culture of mechanical reproductions and the thick incrustations dying on the surface.
Ah, so this is what Deepak Chopra does in his spare time. While Otis does his thing, Bill and Baby make it to the house, but the door's locked, so Baby goes around back, leaving Bill all alone, surrounded by creepy dolls.
Christ! God, oh, don't do that. You scared the shit out of me.
Does a friend coming up behind you to scare you as a jump scare really count when your friend isn't really your friend? And again, she does get awfully damn friendly with Bill, giving him hot cocoa and playing with his glasses. Mixed in with even more random-ass transitions to remind you she's a villain before, hey, look at that! Her tow truck brother has brought all the rest of the victims to the party. But if anything, they're just a bunch of party poopers.
Look, I gotta call my dad and tell him we're gonna be late. Can I use your phone, please? Hello?
Ain't got one.
Introducing Mother, played by Karen Black. Also, hey, no telephone, because it's not a horror movie unless your car, your telephone, your internet connection, and any sense of self-preservation is completely shot. Mother takes particular interest in Jerry rather quickly, while the bare-hatted gunner from earlier, Baby's brother RJ, played by Robert Allen Mukes, works on getting their car fixed up.
How long is that gonna take? Probably be back in a couple hours. What, a couple of hours?
Mary.
What?
Well, he's got to get a very specific tire out in the middle of nowhere, out in the middle of the night, during a holiday. If you ask me, he's making pretty damn good time. Well, while they're here, it's dinner time! I guess the sun just sets around 3 p.m. wherever the hell they are. This family has a strict rule, though, of wearing masks to the dinner table. No idea why, and it never comes up again, but just roll with it, because it's kinda creepy. This introduces Tiny, played by Matthew McGrory. Is there any reason that had to be a secret note? Get Grandpa doesn't sound the least bit suspicious.
He can't hear so much.
Oh, he's deaf. Well, at least mostly deaf. In this scene, he's deaf. We're pretty much going to forget about it from here on out, and he's going to act like he can hear perfectly fine anyway, but pretend this is character building. But you see, Tiny's daddy Earl might have gone a little overboard one day and set him on fire. He's still alive, but very badly burned, but never mind that. We get a quick scene with Baby and her spare hostage, along with a cheerleader corpse, just in case you need to be reminded that yes, this is in fact a horror movie, before we return to the table to meet Grandpa Hugo, played by Dennis Fimple, who passed away before this movie was released. He points out, no masks, no dessert. But Jerry doesn't care about dessert, he wants to know about Dr. Satan!
I know all about what you want to know all about.
Alright, cool, because the tire pressure gauge on my dashboard is blinking and has been for weeks. It swears up and down my car doesn't even have tires. Any idea how to fix that? After a little break to kiss a pickled fetus, Otis gets into the nitty-gritty. Or not, as he just says they're all too innocent, and it's best if they just leave with their innocence, rather than something about the devil coming out of your ass and saying something. I'm not sure, but then the bell rings.
There's over! Ladies and germs, it's showtime!
Okay, it's showtime apparently. Meaning that out of nowhere, a giant fucking stage is erected and Grandpa Hugo does a stand-up routine about eating your mom's pussy. As in, that's pretty much the only thing he talks about, but Jerry thinks it's hilarious. Following this, we move on to Baby, giving a somehow even more awkward performance, dancing and lip-syncing to a Betty Boop number. Maybe it would be less strange without all the picture-in-picture, but that's not what pisses Denise off.
Oh, get off him! I said get the fuck off him, you stupid fucking whore! Fucking slut!
Sounds pretty harsh, but remember, this is a Rob Zombie film. She pretty much just said hello. Baby, however, doesn't appreciate the tone of that hello. But what's this? RJ has finished fixing the tire of the car. Thus, everyone piles in and makes a beeline for the hell out of there. However, they have to stop.
Why are you stopping?
I gotta open the gate!
I mean, yeah, we might be fleeing in terror, but we still have to be courteous about it. The only problem is that magical row of scarecrows that just appeared are in fact actual people who beat, bludgeon, and break the bones of both the boys. It turns out that it's Otis not allowing them to leave. I guess the family could have just not fixed the car, but sure, let him drive for 10 feet, then kidnap him again. God, their lives must be boring. The following day, RJ takes what's left of their car and drives it off the property. Only problem is that Denise's daddy, Don, was expecting her. Late, yes, but not this late.
She said she'd be here about 11, but she never showed up.
Oh, I wouldn't worry too much about that. Plenty of things in this movie are only relevant for the scene they're in, and then they never come up again. The sheriff, Frank Houston, played by William Bissett, says he'll get some people down there to look around and see what they find. Of course, we all know where Denise is. She's back at the house being taunted by Otis, and his I'm 14 and this is deep philosophy.
Our bodies come and go, but this blood is forever.
Have you not heard of soap and water? After enough word salad, the topic does eventually get to where her friends are, specifically Bill. You know, them being a couple, he's kind of important to her. As luck would have it, Bill has been right here by her side all along.
Behold! Fish boy!
Oh my god! No, this can't be real! This can't be real! This can't be real! This can't be real! This can't be real!
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you should have been able to smell him through that sheet. But why did Otis turn Bill into a merman monster prop? No idea, because it never comes up again. But you know what does, Captain Spaulding? The police have arrived to question the man, including Deputy George Wydell, played by Tom Towles, and Steve Naish, played by Walton Goggins. They questioned Spaulding about the girl, and what exactly she was doing, as this is the last place she was seen.
They caught a gander at the display in the back, and they figured they was gonna run out and solve the great Deadwood mystery.
And how'd they get that idea?
I wrote them a map.
Just your average cocktail napkin cartography, world-renowned for its accuracy, especially during dark and stormy nights. The police ask for a copy of that poorly scrawled map, and then we get more weird transitions! I've been skipping most of these, believe it or not. They just add oh so much to the plot, and that negative filter sure is scary. But it was all just a dream! Denise is tied up in the basement, and dressed up like Alice with clown makeup. I don't know. But Tiny is here with cereal.
Let me go. Help me. Please, God, please. Thank you.
See what I mean? Ain't so deaf anymore now, is he? With Tiny's help, Denise is able to walk freely out of there, right into Otis, who chucks her in the cage/zombie slumber party. No idea what in the hell that was about. But never mind that. Baby has Jerry all to herself, asking him questions where, if he gets it wrong, she cuts his hair. Questions he has no hope of getting right.
Who's my favorite movie star?
Anthony Perkins?
No, Betty Davis. Sorry, you lose!
I mean, they do have some motive, right? There's some underlying reason that they're doing all the craziness and the kidnapping and the murder. I mean, they don't honestly just lead that boring of lies. This is just how they get their kicks, do they? I mean, couldn't they just take up knitting? Anyway, the police found the girl's car. Beaten to hell and stripped pretty badly, but that's not nearly as worrisome as the body of one of the missing cheerleaders in the trunk!
Hope you like what you see!
Dude, if you're trying to get me to give this film a better rating, it's not working. With the news of the car reaching Denise's dad, he shows up, ready to join the police on this next leg of their journey. However horrifying the prospects may be, what with a dead woman in the trunk. Nevertheless, he's an ex-cop, so they join forces.
My name is Louis Gova, and I know this man, but I know the truth.
And the transitions are still going on, still completely fucking random, and still have fuck all to do with the plot. But hey, this is a horror movie. Remember, be scared. Ooh. Well, after the transition and all its negative filter glory finishes up, we see the police have decided to question the locals about if they've heard or seen anything that might help them. Considering how sparsely populated the area is, it's no surprise they wind up at the baddie's house right away. Deputy Wydell goes around front, while Don and Steve head around back. Interestingly enough, they actually do find Denise without much difficulty. Only problem is, directly after this, well, Wydell gets shot, then Don goes for a short little jog, gets shot, and Stevie Boy here is a flippin' idiot, actually dropping his gun when Otis tells him to, as if he doesn't know what's going to happen to him soon enough. You gotta squeeze the trigger. Is the safety on? Did you remember to put one in the chamber? Fucking hell, and I complain about input lag in Borderlands 3. Ah well, moving on, we get Sherry Moon's ass buying some liquor for the party tonight. What party, you ask? Well, I don't know about shit-faced, but Otis is definitely getting something faced wearing the skin of the deceased Don Willis and taunting his flock dressed as lambs with gags. Ah, Silence of the Lambs. I get it. Oh well, let's get a Halloween reference in for good measure.
It's all true. The boogeyman is real, and you found him.
Okay, but the boogeyman really needs a hobby. Crossword puzzles, I don't know. It seems the reason everyone is all dressed up is because it's Halloween, and we're actually moving towards a point in the story where Dr. Satan is actually relevant again. You see, all the little victims which now consists of only 3. I guess keeping the body count going was more important than the plot. Oh well, the surviving few get tossed in the coffin to go meet Dr. Satan. But Mary runs for it!
Now where does she think she's gonna run to? Where's she gonna run all the way home?
No! Let me get her!
Oh, all right, go get her.
Wait. Are those actually the 2 choices? Either Mary goes after her and catches her, or fuck it, let her go home. As Mary runs, she ends up tripping across a massive fucking graveyard. Easy thing to miss. Also, baby catches up with her. So that big ritual thing you were doing, got all dressed up for, still really not actually that important? God, your lives are boring. So it's only Denise and Jimmy that get tossed into the coffin. Good thing too, as it barely has enough room for the 2 of them. And they are lowered down into the depths below, along with a spooky, spooky audio recording. And now we have zombies. They are suddenly being attacked by dead people. I guess this is a supernatural horror movie now. The zombie hordes carry Jerry away, leaving Denise to wander alone. Or not, as she encounters others in the cavern. It's just the wardrobe department. We're done with the lamb costumes, guys. Go back to the Alice dress now. Yeah, that's all they wanted as they slip back into the shadows without saying a word. Denise continues searching around the area and finds some big frickin' doors leading into a secret laboratory and operating room. Look, kids, it's Dr. Satan! Well, I guess the family has been providing them test subjects for all these years. After a fashion, they still kill like 95% of the people that come their way just out of boredom. But now he wants Denise. And by he, I mean the big hulking bloody badass with the battle axe. Not to worry, she can run, and dodge out of the way a total of 1 time, causing the guy to chop the support beam and for the tunnel to cave in. Around Denise, meaning she can slowly and painfully crawl her ass back to the surface. Funny thing, not only is night over in those 15 minutes, it's midday all of a sudden, meaning she can head to the road and get picked up by our good friend Captain Spaulding. Seems he was just driving by and can provide her with all the help she needs.
I gotta get to a doctor.
All right. Just sit back and relax. I'll get you to a doctor.
So she lives? Okay. So she dies? Okay. The end? Question mark? I don't care. Anyway, that was House of 1,000 Corpses. And it's kind of like a haunted house. It's got all these different spooky things everywhere that's supposed to scare you. But they don't. It's not even that the horrors on display are so varied it gets confusing, or even though the plot itself is completely transparently an excuse to squeeze as many horror references into the runtime as possible. The whole package isn't even held together all that much. There are so many transitional shots, with so much emphasis on style over substance. You could easily cut this movie to under an hour and leave the plot completely intact. Coupled with the underwhelming acting, and the fact that this as a film was built first and foremost as a homage to horror that came before, rather than finding its own original horror idea to explore in depth, I just couldn't get invested in it. That's not to say there is absolutely nothing going on in this movie though, just not much of it. Take Tiny for instance, the mutilated giant of the family who at the end of the day is just about the only one of them who wasn't a monster. Subtext. In a scene that could also be just as easily edited out of the movie and it would be just the same. Spare wondering where that Alice dress came from, I guess. Otis's deal, though? Well, he's crazy, I guess. Mother's crazy, baby's crazy. Fuck it, I'm crazy for actually trying to think deeply about this movie when clearly that's not what it was made for. It's a spectacle meant to be gawked at, not a statement meant to dig into your mind and rest in the back of your head, filling you with a deep and unsettling dread. At the end of the day, House of 1,000 Corpses is Rob Zombie's film debut, and it shows. While not horrible for an amateur production, it does still feel unquestionably amateur, and is a perfect example that a horror movie needs far more than boobies, blood, and a body count that won't quit if it's actually going to scare you, coming in at 2 random as fuck transitional scenes out of 5. And I know there will be people out there who disagree with me. There are lots of people out there who do like House of a Thousand Corpses. There are some people out there who say if you don't like House of a Thousand Corpses, you have no right to call yourself a horror fan. And to those people I say, fuck you. That's an asinine way of determining things and you know it. Thank you all for watching. I've been Shado. And remember, I'm doing drugs!